Hi, very good morning, Jim from Avstar. Yes, as this channel does take on a new direction, it's, the only fault is your own. You failed to, as a community, support, a once in a 780,000 year event, and you've lost it. The only people that are entitled now to the Pole Shift News are over on Patreon. Simple as that. And we're looking at this Epstein case, and don't even waste your imagination or time thinking about it, because if you're one of these people that are going to be talking about this today, then you're overlooking all of the real facts. What you're trying to pin something on Donald Trump, well, he's covered it up. This is damage control just as much as everything else that's going on right now. You elected a convicted criminal. Now, he's even disregarding international law, and that's why I say don't bother about the Jeffrey Epstein case. Look at what Donald Trump is absolutely guilty of: aiding and abetting in genocide and supporting the person that is committing that genocide, which is Benjamin Netanyahu. There's the facts. If you want a story to talk about today, talk about that. Whilst people are queuing up for food in Gaza, they're being massacred. These are events that was last seen in the 1930s, 1940s by a fascist Nazi state. Now the problem is international. It's out of control. And here's the thing, right? Do one thing today. Type in cost of living crisis followed by whatever country you want in the world, and you'll get the picture. The international system is collapsed because it has been infiltrated by just a small minority of elitist criminals that have captured the entire world right now, and it's on a decline. So everything that's normal in your life right now is going to change in the near future. Forget climate change, pole shift, all those things. Don't even worry about the Jeffrey Epstein case, which is a joke. There was never a client list. If there's no clients, there's no victims. So all the girls that was sexually abused underage, they don't exist. Jeffrey Epstein's cameras turned off at the same moment he committed suicide, supposedly. You know what? It's not even worth talking about. If you think it's not a cover-up, then, well, welcome to the reality of the world in which you live right now, because you deserve no better reality. If you accept it, what is being said by all these world leaders, who are, some of them, improvised, like Donald Trump, Clinton. I could go on. There's members of the royal family that were, obviously friends and shared time at his island, but it doesn't matter about any of that. Stick with the facts. Donald Trump is refusing to make an arrest on Benjamin Netanyahu when he enters American territory. He's failing to uphold international law, disrespecting international and national law, and for a fact he is crooked as they come. Now, what do you expect? You can look at any other story, any other political matter, right, with relationship to, is Donald Trump a bad person or not? Don't look no further than the fact he's buddies with Benjamin Netanyahu. And Netanyahu has been found guilty by the International Court of Law. There is a warrant out for his arrest, and Donald Trump is harbouring basically a criminal. So there's the facts. All this is just cannon fodder, just another story which will get wiped away from history, as they continue to try and keep the grip and the net all over this world. And that's why we're seeing, the repeat of the behaviours that led to the Second World War. Censorship, propaganda. They don't want your sort of news. They don't want mainstream media news. They don't want social networks like, YouTube, and people that have, tens of thousands of followers leading the main stories. They want their version of it, their propaganda of it. And, it is what it is. And the longer people just accept it, well, if you expect something that's rotten to the core to suddenly, miraculously cure itself, then, it's a delusion, isn't it? Because the only way to address a problem or a cancer is to remove it. And right now, there are several cancers in this world that are running the show. Pharmaceuticals, the war industrial complex, and then the political arena, and they're all interlinked. And then you've got, global businesses. How did we end up with just 8 companies running every large company in the world? How come all these billionaires have hands in the taxpayer's pocket? Look at Elon Musk, who brought up the Epstein files in relationship to Donald Trump when he fell out with him. Musk was giving Donald Trump taxpayers' money that he was receiving in handouts to produce electric vehicles straight directly from the government pocket, going back into a campaign to get Donald Trump elected, to the tune of, £240 million or even more. And then they have a fallout, and then it comes to light that Elon Musk's been receiving £250 billion of subsidies from the American taxpayers. Just a big network, goes in and comes back out, goes in, comes back out. Meanwhile, thousands of people around the world suffer. It's not just it's not just a problem related to America. I'm just using this as an example, a clear, broad daylight example of the level of corruption and how it works. The Epstein files is a small pebble in the ocean. Yeah, if you want the real big story, concentrate on the facts, like the fact that Donald Trump will not honour international law. If he won't honour international law, then do you think he's going to be concerned about national laws in America? Of course not. You've already seen how they've been manipulated. Donald Trump should have been prosecuted. He should have been incarcerated before the election. But he managed to just wing it until he got into power. Now he will never set foot in a jail for his aiding and abetting in known people that have committed genocide. These things are never going to change unless people decide to make the changes. And I will say this, there is an acknowledgement of people's unhappiness, let's just say that, and disagreement with what's going on, which is slowly rising. And the more it rises, the more they will get control of things, or try to. And that's why you're going to see more topics that are targeted by technology, algorithms, on not just social platforms like this, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, X, all of them. And then, they will go beyond that by targeting the individuals or the groups of people. And how they do that is, as you know, they go after the money, they go after the reputation, and, they silence people that way. So this is the world we are all living in. So there's no point, laughing about the kindergarten cover-up of the Epstein case. We know it implicated very important, very wealthy people, if ever it came to light what was really going on, and they've covered it up. But they've covered up lots of other bigger things in broad daylight, and nobody's holding them to account over those things. Like, why is nobody saying to Donald Trump, don't you think it's wrong to harbour a criminal and invite him into the Oval Office, to discuss future plans? Don't you think it was criminal to attack, like America recently did, a sovereign nation, Iran? And we're going to get the people that think they know what the political arena is here come up in the comments section saying, look, that Iran was threatening Israel with nuclear bombs. Israel have got nuclear weapons they're not even supposed to have. It's never been made official, but they've got them. You have a look at the Saracen Treaty. Have a look into that. They've got the weapons. Who provided the weapons is a question. I think we all know the answer to that. But, why allow countries like North Korea to develop interballistic continental missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear weapons and do nothing about that, and then target a country that is enriching uranium supposedly, and go to war with that country. Like I said, Israel have attacked 4 countries in the last 12 months. Lebanon, Gaza, Syria and Iran. And America has assisted in all of those, as well as other Western countries. And, don't even bother, entertaining the fact that Donald Trump is regularly having conversations with Putin. And every time he mentions that he's had a conversation with him, a larger barrage of drones have hit the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. So much injustice going on, so much corruption going on, and people focusing on all the wrong things. If you want to hold people to account, start with the worst of crime, genocide, war crimes. And these people are still alive. You're going to wait until they're dead before they're found to be guilty, and that will offer absolutely no justice for the loss of life and the foul behaviour. Just injustice after injustice. That's why, the morale of the world is at a low level right now. Nobody's happy. We've never been taxed so high. Here in the UK, 40% tax straight off the bat. Reductions in healthcare, reductions in unemployment benefits, and levels of poverty that we've never seen ever since the Edwardian times in the UK. So people have been commenting, why are you always pointing the finger at other countries, never your own? Because it's obvious that this is rotten to the core. Britain is absolutely petrified with maggot infestation and corruption. A lot of it began here. So I'm not pointing the fingers just at any other country. I'm just saying, that there's Donald Trump refusing to, uphold international law. And should it be any surprise when he doesn't even uphold national law, especially when he himself is improvised? Shouldn't come as any surprise that there's conflict of interests across the range. And if there's conflict of interest, you can bet your bottom dollar, right, that there's criminal activity going on. So, no point talking about Jeffrey Epstein or the corruption related to climate change, or whether CO2 is responsible for emitting chemicals into the atmosphere that's changed the atmospheric composition to the point where it's caused climate events to happen. No point talking about any of that when you're going to emit, the biggest cake, and you're going to go for the crumbs. Your world, I guarantee you this, is going to take an even worse turn in the near future. You can mark my words on that. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see where this is all leading to. So, why bother, even talking about the Jeffrey Epstein case and the files that have now came to light to be nothing in them? Why is Maxwell still in jail then, if that's the case? Shouldn't she be immediately released? Now there's been a conclusion brought. Go on. Even Donald Trump sympathises with her. She's a lovely lady. She shouldn't have been convicted or whatever. Amazing, isn't it? They all have one thing in common, and that is they are billionaires. And if you look behind Donald Trump when he won the election, there were, dozens of billionaires standing behind him. And the rest is just, a lap dance.